least, Smiley. Am I saying that correctly? Welcome to the Student Late Show. Welcome to the Student Late Show, a student show that will engage in conversation that is thought-provoking in today's society. And today we have guests from all over the world. And I want to start with our first guest, which is Mano. Could you tell the audience a bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Menno, and I used to be working as a lecturer in the Academy for Leisure of NHTV Breda, but now I'm a program manager in the field of e-learning and learning innovations. So I'm dealing with educational innovations in my daily job, and I like to be here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Leroy. I'm a Caribbean environmental engineering student at Wageningen University. In my free time, I do a lot with nutrition and physically active lifestyle, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
And last but not least, Smiley. Am I saying that correctly?
Smileys. Yeah, I'm from Nigeria. I live here 17 years now, and I used to work in Italy as a model. I came to Holland. Now I'm into, I have a cap salon, and at the same time a stylist. I work with some well-known artists, singers here in Holland, which is very, very good, and I'm happy to be here too.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's get this show on the road, starting with you, Leroy. Why did you leave your home country to come here in the Netherlands to study?
Why did I leave, actually? Well, there isn't much of a choice, actually. Being raised on Curacao, is a Caribbean island. First, we have a very limited university there as well. So if you're really into a specific study, like environmental sciences, for me, then it's almost automatic that you're already thinking about coming to the Netherlands to study, because we share the same passport. And secondly, but this is more on a personal note, I believe myself not to be a resident of Curacao, but of the world. So I want to see as much of it as possible before my time comes to pass. And so I wanted to see a bigger country and travel the world. So that was also on a personal note why I decided to come here.
And obviously, you have Dutch rights like the Dutch citizens. Yeah. Do you think that the other Dutch people are tolerant about these rights that you get as someone from the Caribbean?
Yeah, it depends from person to person. Like, I really don't identify myself as, on paper, I'm Dutch. Like, I was born here in Schravenhagen, Den Haag. But my father is Dominican. He has some Chinese roots in him. My mom is Dutch. And I was raised in Curacao, which I don't even have any blood ties to. So I don't consider it to be more a problem of being Dutch and not being Dutch, but more like being just a citizen of the world, actually. So if they're tolerable, some yes, some no, but it doesn't really matter actually to me.
Okay, that's good. And now that you're entering the workforce, because you actually graduated with a bachelor diploma, yeah, and now you're studying master's in environmental science. Yeah. Does your appearance, say for instance, your hairstyle, getting dreadlocks, does that have anything? Do you think that people are judgmental when they see someone with dreadlocks and they're very big and muscular? Do you think they have judgmental feelings towards you?
Okay, let me see how to answer that. I think people judge what they see, and their judgment is usually based on what they're known. So if you've had any negative experiences with people with dreadlocks or people that look bigger, usually maybe you watch TV and you saw some criminal who has the same appearance as me probably, and then you pick that up, and when you see me you may think like, oh my god, you relate to that. So yes and no. So there are some people that adhere to that and say that this is a bad person because he has dreads, because this is all I know. But if you've been a traveler, if you've seen the world, if you met people with dreads, we're actually really nice, like Nelly, you know. Most of them are really nice, but the small part is being negatively portrayed. If that's the only thing that sticks in your head, then of course you're gonna have that negative stigma attached to it.
Okay. Well, thank you. And here in the Netherlands, who do you engage with conversation with here?
On a daily basis,
In general, like
yeah, I talk way too much to myself actually, so people might think I'm not quite sane, but I actually talk to everybody, like everybody who has an opinion or has something to share. Like I said, I want to learn as much as possible in this limited time that I'm here. So I don't really have any preferred friends I hang out with. So yeah, basically everybody. Yeah, everybody.
for Smiley, what about you? Here in your daily life, who do you engage in conversation with? Is it in a Dutch environment or is it with international people? Is it a bit of a mix?
I would say mixed because of my kind of work I do. I have people, Dutch people, Chinese, that all come to my barber shop and they want to fix their hair. But the thing is, the most important thing is when they come and you have that 10 to 15 minutes, is the time my kind of job is way more than just being a barber. Sometimes you see it's more like being like a therapist, you know. If you know what you're doing, you see a person is quiet for like 10 to 20 minutes, and you have that time, the power to like try and go in conversation with the person, and at the end of the day, you find out that they're going through some difficult, deep problems and their problem is you might just have the solution. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's always good to talk, and I have Dutch friends, I have Chinese friends, Suriname, Curaçao, Africans, all over. Yeah, so I really don't have a particular type of people I talk to.
Okay. Yeah. So you think it's important to be accepting of all cultures and engage in conversation with everyone in society?
Very, very necessary. Because when you talk to other people, then you get to know that there are so many things you don't know about other cultures, you know? Like a good example from what I just said about the Dutch people accepting people with dreadlocks. Where I'm from in Africa, they believe that anybody with dreadlocks smokes weed.
Yeah.
So I remember like 8-9 years ago, I went to Africa. May the soul of my late grandmom rest in peace. And when she saw me, like every other person, they were happy, like, oh, he's back home, he's back home. They were happy, but she was crying. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, why are you crying? Is it like tears of joy? She's like, no, look at your hair, you smoking weed now. I'm like, no, I don't smoke weed, I just like the hair, you know?
Yeah.
So when I came to Holland and I left Africa, the way I thought about people with drugs, it became different, you know? So just like what they say, like traveling is part of education, you understand?
Yes.
It is always good to travel. When you travel, you know. Because it's like a person that stays in Holland all their life, you say, yeah, Holland is the biggest country. But when you go outside, there are a lot of countries that will swallow Holland up. You understand? A lot of people, Dutch people ask me, why did you leave your country? Yeah, is your country that poor? I'm like, no, it's not that poor, but it's just that not everybody wants to stay where they be raised. Some people want to see something different.
And that's why you left?
That's one of the reasons why I left.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you think your life is? Is it better here in the Netherlands or was it better in Nigeria?
I think that might take the whole night. We might talk about that. To an extent, I would say it's better here. To an extent, I would say I wish I was home.
Okay.
No matter what, there's no place like home, though.
That's true.
But security-wise, you say, okay, I'm fine here. I don't have to go to bed like with one of my eyes open, you know. Yeah, but in Africa, it's like that. If you have a Range Rover in front of your house and your neighbor, they don't even have the next square meal to eat. So you should be waiting for an attack, you know. Mm-hmm. So a place where the gap between the rich and the poor, it is so high, there's bound to be a very, very high rate of crime, you understand? So like me coming here now, has really, really like opened my eyes, made me exposed, made me see a lot of things that I'm not just here for myself alone, but I see myself as a point of contact to help other people at home too. So if I have a spare €1 or whatever, I'm like, okay, you can have this. You understand? So I think sometimes I have seen some Dutch people tell me some things, and I have a good example. I used to play football here, and my football club had a problem with a Dutch football club, and my football club was like mixed with the Suriname and Chileans in my team with Dutch boys too. But that day, the Dutch boys, like 3 of them, they really didn't come. So it was more like black people football club, you know. And we had a problem with this 100% Dutch team, and the fight really bad. That there was no exchange of blow, but like, you know, guys shouting and screaming, and so we all went into the dressing room. In nothing less than 20 minutes, the police came to the dressing room like, like, what's going on? They said, yeah, somebody said you guys are fighting with few weapons. I'm like, it's just a football club. Nobody comes there with AK-47, you know. And yeah, they said, yeah. So I said that. The police was like, yeah, meneer, kom, draaien. I'm like, what? Jij bent aangehouden. I thought it was a joke, you know. Bro, you're not going to, from 2 o'clock till like 12 o'clock at night. If 2 people have a fight, you arrest the 2 of them, right? They left the Dutch boys and took us to jail. And we were there from 2 o'clock till like 12. Those are one of the situations that makes me feel like I wish I was back home.
Okay.
You understand? So things like that sometimes make you reflect, yeah, I wish I was back home.
I understand. I understand.
Like that.
And this question is for Meno. Do you think that Breda is accepting of international students or international people?
Well, I think Breda is a nice city in the Netherlands, Brabant, and it's very cozy, or as we say, gezellig. So I think people are quite open and tolerant. At least I try to be. But I'm then more wondering about your experience, because I'm there as a Dutch guy and I accept everybody. Because actually my background is that I come from Rotterdam. So I'm used to everybody being colored. It's not that different for me. However, my friends were all Dutch and they were all white. And I actually learned the people that are from all around the world when I was traveling, when I was studying. That's actually the moment where you get involved with other people. And wherever you live, I was studying in Leiden, and but I was traveling to Bali, Mexico, Africa, Tanzania, and that's when you learn to deal with people that are not the same as you are, and that's something that needs to happen more often. I think also Breda is quite a white city, so that not many people. Yes, it's true, right? With with colored skins. And I think maybe for you guys it's different from the guys that come from, for instance, Morocco. Because they have also, they have the name to be criminal, and but our institution, NHTV, is in front of the mosque. And actually the nicest conversations I have are quite often with the people from the mosque. Because if they're trading strawberries from their back of their car, I always go there and I buy stuff. And that's really nice, but it's on the outside of the city, and it's only a few people that are over there. But it's actually quite nice people that are there. So I think Breda is open. However, integration might still be an issue, because quite often I think you guys go to the same club where you meet people, and you don't mingle that much with the other ones, because also sometimes they have a different style of music, or and I like it all. So yeah, so I should go to maybe a salsa club or something more often. But and my wife wants me to go there.
What do you think is a problem with integration with mostly international people?
Well,
within the Netherlands or within Breda?
Quite often people stay with their group. So you speak English, and the Dutch, quite often they speak Dutch. So that's already some sort of barrier. So that's some sort of a poor situation. And quite often, we really like and promote in our education multicultural activities that they have also in the suburbs of Breda, and that's sponsored by quite often the government. But then also quite often people stay even within their own group. So it's one of the hardest challenges nowadays, I think.
And for you guys, when you guys came to Breda or in the Netherlands, in The Hague, did you guys have a culture shock within the Netherlands? Could you tell me about that experience, one of you?
A culture shock is a bit of an understatement, and being born here, you would automatically expect, even though I speak the language, that I would integrate really smoothly, but quite the opposite happened. I have a personal experience actually. I started working here in the Netherlands when I just arrived, at 17, my first job actually. It was at a famous supermarket chain, and I couldn't quite get along with anybody there. And in Curacao, I'm kind of the jokester, the one that makes fun. But I couldn't somehow get them to laugh and get them to get my humor, and I didn't get theirs either. And the only thing they talked about was NAC football club, and I have nothing with football, you know, so I couldn't find a dialogue with them. And automatically at some point I started becoming a more reserved type of worker. I was more in the back, just working really hard, was the only one sweating while filling fruit, but couldn't really hold a conversation with anybody. And then I started feeling like I was really alone there by myself, which eventually led to me being fired, which I think was the main reason, because I wasn't, in their words, social enough, like socially available. And after that started the period of reflection where I really started, okay, what's going on here? And like, is it just me, or is it them? And so with regards to culture shock, I did experience it, like especially with the timing and the way you talk. I'm very, in Curacao, for example, you don't look elders in their eyes. Like, it's something that here is very normal, to look at your parents, and if you're not agreeing with something, to say them straight up to your face, or look at your boss. I see people here, Dutch people, going into arguments with their bosses and still be fine at the end of the day. That doesn't happen in Curacao, guys. That's too, no way. So those kind of things I had to learn, like just being here. And that also helped me as a person to grow myself, but also to understand my fellow Dutch citizens much better. Do you have the same experience? Yeah, right.
Exactly. Like in Africa, when your dad or mom is talking, you don't look straight into their eyes. You better put your head down and listen. Yeah. But when they see it as you being disrespectful when you look straight into their eyes, and with that is a big problem. I had that problem, and also with the another culture shock I had was the time when a Dutch person tells you, come, let's go out for dinner. Where I'm from Africa, when I tell you guys, come, let's go for dinner, I'm paying. You understand? Yeah. When I invite you guys, let's go out for dinner, I know I'm going to pay. And I had these Dutch friends, like 4 of them, and they were like, because I wanted to integrate good. I want to speak good Dutch. I don't want to stay with my Africa Bumawe language, you understand? So I was like, okay, so there was this guy, Jack, he was like, Smileys, come. Like I out ate it. I was like, oh my God. The whole, like in the morning till like in the evening, bro, I didn't eat anything. I was expecting the food. I was like, this guy's going to take me out, we're going to eat. And we went, before they said we were supposed to meet like 6, which I'm always late, African time. Yeah. But this time I was early because it has to do with food. I was there on time and I was ready. And we went to this restaurant. They came, I was like, what are we going to eat? They came with menu. I don't understand this menu. I saw like croquettes, blah, blah. I was like, where's the main food with meat? Then later they said, yeah, we are going to eat patat and cape. I'm like, patat and cape? Yeah, let me just eat it. So, and I was like, okay, give me patat and cape. They brought the patat with like four chicken wings. I looked at the guy, I'm like, are you joking? like, no, seriously. Are you joking? The guy was like, yeah, we are not here, you want more? I'm like, let me eat. I said to Jack, I can eat. He said, eat man. I was like, okay, no problem. Bro, I was eating, where I left the bones was so high. Like, I ate enough, and well, like after 1 hour, 30 minutes, we were like deciding to leave. And I saw the guys like passing this one came with like €4.20. The other one came with €6. And they all pushed it to my table. I'm like, what am I going to do with it? They say, you have to add yours to it. I'm like, what? Do I have to pay? They say, yeah, you ate. I'm like, but you invited me. It was like, no, it's not like that. I was like, shit. Okay. I was like, shit, what am I going to do now? I was like, wait, I have to go to the toilet. I was in the toilet. I was sweating. This time, I forgot I've eaten chicken and patat. I just came back. I met Jack. I'm like, Jack, you know what? Help me out. Ending of the week, I'm getting my money and I'll sort you out. I said it to him like in a quiet place, you know. He was like, it's cool, no problem. I thought he was going to help me out, like at the back. He went to the table where everybody was sitting down, like stood up and brought up his wallet, like Smileys. I'm gonna pay for you now, right? You have to give me my money back. I'm like, gee, you don't have to announce me. So that day, I'm like, when a Dutch person tells me, oh, let's go out for dinner, bro, I'll take my money with me. Yeah, so that's one of the things I've learned too about the culture. So yeah, it's
Yeah. And you also own your own barbershop. Did you had any obstacles or challenges obtaining, let's say, a permit for the building or renting? Was it difficult?
Zozo was difficult, but the thing is, if you know what you want, you don't settle for less. You go for it. You understand? So I have always knew I love to play with hair. I love things with hair. I always wanted to be a barber, you know. So me having a barbershop, the permit, the place. The thing is, when you are aiming at something in life, and at the right time, things will start falling into place. You understand? The place where I started from, I didn't see myself going there. I was at home sleeping when they called me like, oh, this place is free. Do you want to take it? And I wanted it so bad. You understand? So it wasn't, I had to just go to Kavika, come up for Copan, and just did one or two, three things. But getting the customers was another problem. Yes, because when you, a black guy, calling a white guy to come into your shop, it's not like, you know, they don't really see. Then you have to make a lot of advert for yourself. Yeah, you have to go in. When you do one, you have to sell yourself. So I think it's more about things in life. Nothing comes easily, you know. You have to just put your foot forward and do your best.
Yeah, I see that with your barbershop. You have all kind of customers. You have like Chinese, Moroccan, white, black. It's like a multicultural place where everyone can go to.
And it's a meeting point too, where people you can come, and the thing is, when you come to the barbershop, don't put your head down because you don't know the next guy sitting next to you. Yeah, because most times at the barbershop, I always try to make it as like a meeting point. Because there's a woman came with a son, a good example. A woman came with a son, and the son is like a big fan of this guy that sings in Holland, Freshman, you know. And the woman was like there with the son, and the son is trying to talk to the woman, telling the woman like, "Mommy, that's Freshman." But she was so busy with her phone, and she didn't really listen to the son. So later she raised up her head. She was like, "Was that you know?" So the son was like, "Papa, Mama, kijk Freshman." So the woman was so shocked, like, "Oh, my son is a big fan of yours," you understand? So before she could realize to like introduce both of them, he was ready to go. The other guy, DJ Dana, was outside. He picked him and they just left. So she missed that chance. So sometimes when you go to a place like a barbershop, I always try to make people like interact, get to know yourself. Because of the technology now, everybody's busy with their phone. We don't know each other anymore. So a barbershop is a place where you can meet each other. You hear the story about the gist. If you want to know story about Breda, go to the barbershop in Breda. You know the story in Breda.
Okay, thank you. And for you guys study in an international environment. How much does Dutch plays a barrier within talking to a Dutch person? And how can you break down that barrier?
Okay, yeah. First of all, my academic background was in an international environment setting itself. We had 3 Dutch guys, and so most of us were international. And what you said as well, I think, Menno, about staying to groups, like we had that, the Chinese, the Dutch, and I was by myself because I was the only one from the Caribbean there. But to interact, I think more activities really helped. And we actually got this course, Intercultural Communication, where we actually went to a cabin for a school trip in France. And this was after 2 years of studying there. In those 2 years, we were kind of okay with each other, but after that, being locked in like this cabin with each other and really interacting on a daily basis, we became the bestest of friends. Like to this day, one of my closest friends now is one of those Dutch guys. So it all has to do with putting each other in an environment where you just realize that you're the same. Actually, you may be a tad bit different. One is more punctual than the other. One doesn't have African time. One is like on time, and one wants to pay the bill, and the other one doesn't. But aside from that, you're the same. You can laugh about the same things. You can cry about the same things, and you may even have the same type of experiences. So, more activities. The more I got engaged in school. And outside of school with the international community as well as the local community, the more I realized that we're one and the same. So, and then the barrier was gone.
I'm wondering, do you think that we as Educational Institute do need to offer more opportunities for that, especially in the beginning of the studies? Because we also teach intercultural communication, but it's like more theoretical, right? So sometimes I'm wondering, is that helping? Because we teach about cultures, we do, but bringing people together is taking activities, doing activities together, like maybe a study trip or like not quite often we have courses and then there's one lesson and a few days later there's the next lesson, and that's not the way to integrate, to work together. And we have group assignments and you need to collaborate. That's only on content. Yeah. Is that the thing that's going wrong according to you?
What I remember of my course, this is to answer your question, was that trip. That's about it. I don't remember the exam, the lectures, the PowerPoints, the books. I just know the name and that trip. So to be more practical is actually what I think really helps to integrate us more, and not really telling about so how was your culture? Oh, my culture is like this and this. Oh, nice. What is your culture? Oh, nice, this and this, and then see, we're different, and then end of the session. It doesn't really help anybody to be theoretical. We have to be more hands-on and really sit with each other and talk and have a dialogue.
Well, moving on to obstacles, talking about obstacles, I want to look at a video that we have for the audience and for you as well, Mano, and for everyone who's here, from Prince EA. And this video is talking about the outdated educational system. And I want to go in depth into this conversation with you guys and talk about how in today's society that we have a school system that has been here for so much years and it has never changed. And I want to know if we do change it, is that realistic, or should we stick to the way we've been learning all the time? So can we take a look at the video right now?
Albert Einstein once said, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today on trial we have modern day schooling. Glad you could come. Not only does he make fish climb trees, but also makes them climb down and do a 10-mile run. Tell me, school, are you proud of the things you've done? Turning millions of people into robots, do you find that fun? Do you realize how many kids relate to that fish? Swimming upstream in class, never finding their gifts, thinking they are stupid, believing they are useless? Well, the time has come, no more excuses. I call school to the stand and accuse him of killing creativity, individuality, and being intellectually abusive. He's an ancient institution that has outlived his usage. So, Your Honor, this concludes my opening statement, and if I may present the evidence of my case, I will prove it.
Proceed.
Exhibit A. Here's a modern day phone. Recognize it? Here's a phone from 150 years ago. Big difference, right? Stay with me. Here's a car from today, and here's a car from 150 years ago. Big difference, right? Well, get this. Here's a classroom of today, and here's a class we used 150 years ago. Now, ain't that a shame? In literally more than a century, nothing has changed. Yet you claim to prepare students for the future? But with evidence like that, I must ask, do you prepare students for the future or the past? I did a background check on you and let the record show that you were made to train people to work in factories, which explains why you put students in straight rows, nice and neat, tell them sit still, raise your hand if you want to speak, give them a short break to eat, and for 8 hours a day, tell them what to think. Oh, and make them compete to get an A letter which determines product quality, hence grade A of meat. I get it. Back then, times were different. We all have a past. I myself am no Gandhi. But today, we don't need to make robot zombies. The world has progressed. And now we need people who think creatively, innovatively, critically, independently, with the ability to connect. See, every scientist will tell you that no two brains are the same. And every parent with 2 or more children will confirm that claim. So please explain why you treat students like cookie cutter frames or snapback hats, giving them this one-size-fits-all crap.
Watch your language.
Sorry, Your Honor, but if a doctor prescribed the exact same medicine to all of his patients, the results will be tragic. So many people would get sick, yet when it comes to school, this is exactly what happens, this educational malpractice, where one teacher stands in front of 20 kids, each one having different strengths, different needs, different gifts, different dreams, and you teach the same thing the same way? That's horrific. Ladies and gentlemen, the defendant should not be acquitted. This may be one of the worst criminal offenses ever to be committed. And let's mention the way you treat your employees.
Objection. Overruled. I want to hear this.
It's a shame. I mean, teachers have the most important job on the planet, yet they're underpaid? No wonder so many students are short-changed. Let's be honest, teachers should earn just as much as doctors, because a doctor can do heart surgery and save the life of a kid, but a great teacher can reach the heart of that kid and allow him to truly live. See, teachers are heroes that often get blamed, but they're not the problem. They work in a system without many options or rights. Curriculums are created by policymakers, most of which have never taught a day in their life. Just obsessed with standardized tests. They think bubbling in a multiple choice question will determine success. That's outlandish. In fact, these tests are too crude to be used and should be abandoned, but don't take my word for it. Take Frederick J. Kelly, the man who invented standardized testing, who said, and I quote, "These tests are too crude to be used and should be abandoned." Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if we continue down this road, the results will be lethal. I don't have much faith in school, but I do have faith in people. And if we can customize healthcare, cars, and Facebook pages, then it is our duty to do the same for education, to upgrade it, change it, do away with school spirit, because that's useless. Unless we're working to bring the spirit out of each and every student, that should be our task. No more Common Core. Instead, let's reach the core of every heart in every class. Sure, math is important, but no more than art or dance. Let's give every gift an equal chance. I know this sounds like a dream, but countries like Finland are doing impressive things. They have shorter school days. Teachers make a decent wage. Homework is non-existent, and they focus on collaboration instead of competition. But here's the kicker, boys and girls. Their educational system outperforms every other country in the world. Other places like Singapore are succeeding rapidly. Schools like Montessori, programs like Khan Academy, there is no single solution. But let's get moving, because while students may be 20% of our population, they are 100% of our future. So let's attend to their dreams, and there's no telling what we can achieve. This is a world in which I believe. A world where fish are no longer forced to climb trees. I'll rest my case.
So Mano, we had this discussion before at NHTV, and we talked specifically about this video, and I talked to you and I told you, I think that the school system, the way how they're teaching us, it's not really helping everyone, and I'm being demotivated every time when I'm studying. I'm falling asleep when I'm studying, and during the exams, I'm not really seeing how it's going to help me in real life, you know? Do you feel somewhat a bit of a resistance towards this video, or do you think some of the parts are good, some of the elements are bad? What is your full perspective on it?
Well, first of all, I think this video is really super cool. It really explains the challenge of education, because well, making things relevant and reaching your internal motivation should be always the object that we are aiming for. And that's actually well, difficult in two ways. And I think the most important one is that there need to be sort of basic lines, basic knowledge that is tested, because we need to hand you an exam where it says you have some basic knowledge about elements. But that doesn't change the fact that we also need to work on your motivation, allowing you to do the things that you want to do, like organizing a show, organizing events. And well, in this video it showed several elements that we're actually currently changing, because it said like the multiple choice exams, and I think everybody here took a multiple choice exam, many of them, right? That's the one thing that you do. Academy for Leisure now, for the first year students, we don't have multiple choice exams anymore. That's actually a big change. But we do a progress test in which at the end of the year they need to answer questions. Still, they need to have some parts correct. But we don't take this test on a regular basis anymore. And we teach now courses like creative leadership. I used to be coordinating that course. And that is mainly focused on getting your interest out there. You're working in the working field, and since you are an ILM student, International Leisure Management, it's more difficult. But the Dutch students, they have to go out into the working field, like 30 day parts, so it's like 15 full days, where they need to go in practice and get and do assignments and get feedback from professionals. So it's about getting professionals in your education. And so I can relate to what the guy is saying there very much. But also you need to take into account that as an organization, there need to be some sort of basic ground line of the things that you are doing, because there needs to be a certain level and it needs to be somehow tested. But I think one thing is also changing is for the products that you are creating, it needs to be relevant and it needs to be from practice. So not only theory, but if you're working in a project group on some assignment, it really needs to be something from real practice, from a real company with a real supervisor from a company, and where indeed your lecturer has a role to more guide you along all the things that you can do, all the digital resources that you can find, and help you with that in making choices. And yeah, but that's a different role as a lecturer, and quite often colleagues are used to stand in front of a classroom and tell people what to do, so making them indeed sort of the same. Yeah. So that's challenging, but also challenging for institutions.
Yeah, I think the school system, it may have had its good intentions, but it definitely has to change in the sense that a bit of a different approach to how you see it. For example, for me, we're forced, sort of, directly or indirectly, to make too big of choices at too young of an age. For me personally, when I went to the HAVO, I think it's called, I already had to choose if I wanted to do applied science or university at 12 years old. And then in my third grade, I had to choose either environment and health, technical studies, or cultural management and economics at 14 years old. And then I was even limited further after I graduated, and that's when the real trap set in, because now you have to pay for your own school, and then you have to go to the University of Applied Science, and then you realize in your second year that, hey, I'm really interested in nutrition. But you're already 20,000 euros in debt. So what do? You either follow your passion and get yourself in even more debt, or you just bite through this last year and graduate and then say you have a degree. So I think that is not just for me an issue, but for a lot of students in Curaçao as well, and especially even here in the Netherlands, you don't even have to look really far. I think there's a lot of students here who also have a piling student debt and not really doing what their heart is telling them to do. So I think this is more an issue not of school, but of the system as a whole. If governments decide to subsidize schools and not really, like in Finland, like students don't have student debt there, so they're free to study art 1 year and then do something else another year and really get the best out of themselves. But here, because you have this chain of debt and money and having to move fast and work fast, you're often limiting yourself and really pursuing what you wanted to do, and instead wind up doing what a big company wants you to do. And then we find it strange that it's countries like the Netherlands and Germany and other Japan, big growing countries, that have the most increases in depression. So I think that's kind of where I stand, is we should see it as a whole and not really say it's just school, but where does the priority stand in the country?
If I may add, for instance, me myself, I studied 9.5 years, something that you cannot do as students anymore. But I didn't like my studies at all. Like studying in university is going to lectures only, and then preparing something for yourself, some product that you need to deliver. I couldn't motivate myself as well. So I started traveling around, meeting people actually, and I met my wife, and she's actually a doctor, providing different medications medications for different patients. And so I was quite lucky in this situation because I did not end up with a debt, but I also worked many hours as a student, which is also a challenge. But it's quite hard to find your internal motivations. And you say that people need to study 1 year of this and maybe 1 year of that. And that would be great, but it is costing money. So, well, where should the government just allow you to do all those things? Or should there be at least some guidelines in saying, you can study this long, but at least you end up with some exam. And I think in the future, maybe the papers, your diploma will not be, well, that important anymore because with courses and there are many other ways to get up in the ranks and do different things. Yeah. But at least there need to be some guidelines. So for me, it was like studying 10 years. I needed to finish. So the last year I was studying very hard. I didn't like it as well. But at least it took me some time as well to find my passion, which was ICT and learning and doing digital stuff. But well, audiovisual team and visual elements in education. But it indeed took me time as well. So I always encourage students not to study extremely hard, but to find their passion. I think that's most important. But quite often, indeed, when they are young, they don't know what their passion is. And I'm wondering, did you already find your passion, for instance?
I found my passion with entertainment and making content that is relevant for my generation. But however, I did not find that study when I came to the Netherlands. I had a limited choice that I had to pick from. And it was very hard for me to say, okay, I want to study entertainment with making events or making TV shows or something like that, or making, like say, a Netflix show or something like that. So as a student, your choice is very limited to either being a doctor, a lawyer, or studying in certain universities. They have these made packages for you. So they're actually saying that they know what you want to become before you become it. So you don't have a chance to have a dream. You don't have a chance to fight for what you want. You just have these made for you packages in these universities and you have to choose it. There's no option.
But I think in Academy for Leisure, what you're studying, there are plenty of options because you can go in the direction of project manager or marketeer or concept designer, Imagineering or entrepreneurial elements. And is your choice available or? Because I think also after the first year of theory, and maybe also the second year is also mainly consisting of theory, you go into internships and you find your graduation, and that's usually the phase in your studies where you find your specialty and where you want to go and work in the future, because you're quite free, I think, to find an internship, well, what you like, what you prefer.
That's true what you're saying, but from my personal experience, I've just came from internship and I haven't used that much what I've learned in school in my internship. Of course, there's elements of marketing and there's elements of project management, but while I was working in my company, I didn't really use the subjects. So I feel like what I'm learning and what I'm actually doing are two different things. How was it for you in Nigeria? Like, what did you learn? Did it help you here in the Netherlands, or is it the same structure? Or is it totally a different structure?
I would say it's a big difference. Just like what he said, at the age of 12 and 14, you have to make decisions. Like in Nigeria, the system is way different. You decide the path you want to go at the age of from 19, 21. You understand? And this time it was really, really heavy. From the age of 12, you have so many courses to do. But at the end of the day, if you have like 12 courses to do, and at the end of the exam, you are good at 2, then they tell you like, oh, this is where you should go. You understand? So there were like so many options. There were like so many options. So there were so many things for you to do. But for me, I went to school. I did business administration. I got my diploma. I got it I would say I just did it for my parents. Yeah, because I've always wanted to be like in entertaining, and I've always loved to be in the fashion world and stuff. So the diploma was just for my parents, and it's there. You understand? But along the line of you going to school, there's always a part of you finding yourself too. You understand? University is there to guide you. Along the line, you have to find yourself inside that university. That's the reason why we here in Holland here, almost every day how people get depressed. They jump into the train because they're not doing what they love to do and stuff. But the thing is, nobody can give you happiness. You have to find it within yourself. You understand? So if you are a student, you are in school, and you feel depressed probably the course you are doing, and you don't like it, and you think, oh, I hate my life. No, you have to sit down and find what you really can do. Because in life, whatever you tolerate dominates you. You understand? If you settle for anything that, okay, let me just do this, maybe at the end of the day, let me just graduate. At the end, you will not be happy. You get a job in an office. Like I got a job at World Trade Center in Amsterdam when I came here with my diploma. I went there like first time, second time. I'm not the kind of guy that will wear a tie and sit in front of a computer. I get depressed. You understand? I knew at that time, I knew where my calling was. I knew I love to interact with people, playing with her. That is my thing. And I went for it. And it's the best decision ever I've ever made.
For me, I can say there was one life-changing lecture, and it's actually it's online. It's by Randy Pouch, Achieving Your Childhood Dreams, it is called. That was for me really a life-changing lecture, and I think everybody should watch it. The guy was on Oprah, and it was in the last lecture series, and the guy was actually he was invited for this lecture, but then he found out he was actually dying. He was a professor at MIT, and he gave his last lecture called Achieving Your Childhood Dreams. And there he explained that happiness is a choice, and the things that you do in your education is also your choice. So quite often, I can see that sometimes a course might not be that interesting for you, or you say, I don't have it in practice. But then it's more about the reasoning and building up the story. And the social skills that you learn in school is actually way more important, because also for me, I'm project managing many big projects, and well, it's about a lot of money. And that was never sort of my dream to do that kind of things. But it's all about the things that you do, the choices that you make. You end up in a job, and you either love it or you find something else. So before I came to NHTV, I've been working at several companies, and after 1 year saying, well, this is not what I like. But it's about, in every job that you do, it's not that much about your knowledge. Knowledge is important, but it's way more important how are your communication skills, and what's your reasoning capacities, and are you able to discuss openly with people. And I hope that you are learning that sometimes in school, and then the knowledge is second, because nowadays there are so many more ways to get your knowledge. Yeah, it's not on YouTube. It's all out there on YouTube, but you need or whatever. At Khan Academy, it was in the video. You can have your knowledge from anywhere, but still you need the skills to know if that is proper knowledge. Well, nowadays the truth doesn't matter anymore with Donald Trump and that kind of stuff. But still, figuring out which knowledge is valuable is very important. And I hope that you are learning that.
Yeah. I must admit that the Academy for Leisure is teaching communication skills, and it has helped me so much from my first year until my fourth year. I have the ability to communicate with stakeholders, with students, with anyone, and have a conversation with different cultures. So I have to say that at school and in NHTV, specifically speaking, that you do get courses that help you in life, but as a student, you want to have your full potential. You want everything that's going to prepare you for life. And I feel like when you're studying at my age, at 24, you don't have the choice to say, okay, I don't like this anymore. I have a dream to become a doctor or something. You can't switch. You don't have the option to switch into what you want to learn, or you're saying that, okay, this study is not for me right now. I want to do a different study. So I think we don't have that much choice and that much option to go in different directions and different streams. We're limited to one sector, and when we graduate with that diploma, we can only work in that sector. Even if that sector doesn't have jobs, we're screwed.
Well, I think like what you're studying now, leisure management, is quite broad. So that allows you to go in many ways in your career. But it's mainly about indeed getting your first job and then growing on, because this is also something that you need to experience and that I think that you will experience. Once you find a job, you will see if you like it or not, and from that you will get many more contacts and connect on LinkedIn and that kind of platforms and meet people, and then you'll get into your next job. So you just need a starting point in your career, I think, and from there on you will go in any directions, because normally people don't stay that long with companies anymore. And your communication skills, well, I know you pretty well already, so they are pretty good. So I think you can get anywhere, and you're not tied to this sector, but you will not become a doctor, because that's something completely different. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for being so critical. I really like that. And how do you think our education system will change? Do you think we need to stay the same like how it is right now, with a teacher standing in front of us and we're learning from some books and from slides, or do you think it's going to change into a more 3.0 society where we all learn from each other?
It's in educational vision of NHTV. Community learning is chosen to be the central theme. So that's about working together, and the lecturer, well, it's like principles called flipping the classroom, means that, well, watch your knowledge clips or your knowledge elements at home, and then we'll start the discussion in class. That's one of the main objectives of NHTV now, apart and distance learning as well, to allow people to be abroad and follow the classes. But community learning is chosen to be the central theme. So actually every academy needs to be working on these elements. And I think that's something that you will see in education more and more, because we now know that there is not one truth, and it's more about the reasoning behind it. But still, you need to know some basic elements, some basic knowledge. You need to, well, build that up. So that's mainly in the first the first and the second year of your studies, but then it's more about discussing and working together with real companies as well, providing projects and that kind of stuff, and that is actually a big challenge. And because industry relation is like the second part of the NHTV educational vision, is that we need to have the industry connection for almost every course, because for every course there are real challenges out there. And for instance, in the Academy for Tourism, they have a leisure design lab, and they go with project groups to companies. Like every week they go to another company and provide and work on an assignment, a real challenge from that company. And that's actually bringing people together, because the students that are in that course, they need to work together and with the project, with the company. So that's actually one form of education that's really cool, but it's more expensive. And then you get into one of these challenges is, well, you need a lecturer to ask questions about the process and what you're working. And it's it's an intensive program. And since we have, well, indeed some sort of limited capacity, there's always those JWP hours. So for every task, you have hours assigned. And well, many people care about their hours, but yeah, well, maybe I was not that typical, because I really liked working with students and finding their passion and helping them sometimes, also students with study problems, because I know about this topic because I was studying long as myself. But community learning will help, and that's actually what we say in our educational vision is central, but that needs to be implemented. And the most difficult part is getting lecturers involved in this new way of learning. And in NHTV they also have the performatory. I think you heard about it, but that's like social constructivism way of learning, like constructing the knowledge together in social groups. Also finding real projects from out there, from the companies, but it's more of an intensive program, and not all students are suited for that. Yeah. Because for many students, also young students, because that's something that many people forget, they just go to school and they really like the fact that they have a course, they have an exam, they finish it, and then they passed it, and in the end they have a grade. So, and then well, in the end they have the diploma, but they are probably not the students that will make it that far in the industry, because indeed you need, the passion is more important than maybe the book knowledge. So that's always some sort of struggle as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for your opinion, and thank you for your opinion. And right now, we want to end the show with asking the audience if they have any questions for the guest. If you guys want to ask any questions to the guest on any topic, you have the chance to do that right now. Anyone with any questions who you want to engage? Yes, pass the mic over to you. Can you please say your name and who you are?
My name is Quentin Verdeesdank. I was a student. I was an illustration student 3 years ago, but now looking toward a different path. And it was very interesting on Menno's fact about the education system, because I do agree that changes need to occur. But of course, in the changing the educational system is one thing, but wouldn't you also agree that it takes up to every student, every individual attending, to also open their own minds to this objective, and instead of thinking that the educational system is the only one who is supposed to provide the solutions, and not indeed have other students themselves, not just the Dutch but also international students, to open their mind to what they think they know and what they can know and can learn in the future.
Well, that's actually the last thing that I was saying, because not all students are actually into discussing, and they quite often it's also because they are young. Like if you grow older, you have more experience of the world. It becomes more easy to discuss with people, and that's sometimes hard to find a balance. It's all about balancing, because we can do all social stuff and working together, group work, but still also like individual knowledge sometimes needs to be tested to see what people are capable of. So it's all about finding the right balance. So that's why, for instance, Academy for Leisure said we will not do regular multiple choice test anymore, but we will do a progress test, and to see how far you have grown into topics. And so it's not indeed not only up to the educational system, because it's also students that have difficulties in studying, because they are young, they have so many other things that they want to do, because they want to go out, they have a job, they have so many other things, and so it's sometimes hard to focus. And maybe if every now you have to you need to borrow money, right, to study. Maybe if that becomes less, people have more time for their studies. And that will maybe raise their interest in the study as well. But it's also a question: do you have internal motivation for a topic? And some people easily motivate themselves, but for some it's harder. Yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions? All right. Well, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us in this student show. I also want to give a big applause to the guests that appeared, Leroy, Menno, and Smileys. Thank you all for coming. And also want to thank Soul Cafe for giving us the opportunity to use their facilities and everything. And I want to introduce the band tonight is Duncan, and he's going to play a set for us. And please, you guys, pay attention, because this is going to be a great performance. Hope you guys have a great night, and see you guys for the next episode.